What's up, everybody? I'm Jay, the Client Success Manager here at Root. And if you reach out to us, I'll likely be the first person you talk to. Welcome to Advisor Unplugged, where you get a behind the scenes peek at the real humans behind the planning. Let's be honest, the biggest reason people choose an advisor is trust. So we're doing these chats to help you get to know our team before you ever hop on the call. Today, we're hanging out with Ben Ahmetagic out of Louisville, Kentucky, and I really enjoyed this conversation. So let's dive in. Ben, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Jay. Always great to spend time with you. Thanks for having me.
It is. Ben, you are one of my favorite people. Again, I like a lot of people, I got to know you at the retreat. I loved getting deep with you. We had some sessions at the fire pit and had a great time. I loved learning about your history. Ben has a really cool story about his parents are from Bosnia. And so one night we were over cigars and whiskey talking deep into the Bosnian history and Ben's like family tree. I loved that. We were like encaptured by that. So I'm so happy to have you, Ben. Start off by telling us, we don't have to start at birth, but like give us the background. I know you're from Kentucky. How did this journey start for you? Is like, I kind of try to ask people like about how did you get into financial planning and then how did you end up at Root?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories to tell. So
Okay, let's get after it.
I had a background. Well, I still have a background, I guess, in economics. So I was an economics undergraduate. Was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Went to University of Kentucky for my undergrad, and then I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do immediately out of undergraduate school. So I went to grad school at University of Cincinnati in applied economics, which is like economics, but more deliberate, more business focused, more,
Okay.
how do we become more efficient with this process and where can we get better margins and all that good stuff. And very econometrics focused, very focused on the numbers. And I realized, I had a friend's dad passed away, unfortunately,
Okay.
during that time. And it was around the time that we had somebody that was an advisor come and talk to us about, this potentially being a path for someone in that program. And she came to me with a question shortly after he passed about, I think, financing her car or something to do with money.
Yeah.
And at the end of that conversation, she said, these are the kind of things that I always used to go to my dad with.
Mm.
And, I feel like you're the type of person that I would come to with those kinds of things. And that was really, I had never like thought about that before. It really struck me emotionally. And then when I graduated, I came to U of L, or excuse me, I came to Louisville, and I happened to know some people in the banking industry. I was on the JP Morgan Chase Bank side of things for a while. Got to learn sort of the intro, the big scale, firm, how that operates. And as I learned more about the industry, I got to understand more about the planning side and what clients were really looking for, what really drove strong outcomes for them in retirement. And it was really that holistic approach. So I got my CFP at a small RIA here in Louisville locally for over the course of a few years. And in that time, I was watching James and Ari's videos. I was using them to be a better advisor right where I was. And that was instrumental by itself. So just to speak to the impact that those videos are probably
Yes.
having just on people that aren't here, but on that end client and the philosophy that their advisor might be operating under, I think is a huge, just accomplishment for them and
So
for
Ben,
Root.
you were listening to Ari and James as an advisor for advice, for
Yeah,
tip.
for years. Yeah, like
That's
basically
incredible. Okay.
Since James started putting videos out on sometimes just like how to explain certain things a different way, or
Yeah.
how to convey something to a client, or how to get a client to think about something in a different way and reframe a conversation. I mean, those were incredibly valuable to me. And after a period of time, I saw the master plan webinar that they put out basically a year ago, probably almost a year ago today. And I was stunned to see that a firm could exist in that way and operate with this specific philosophy in mind, and it just permeate everything that they do and believe in day to day. And shortly after that, there was a an opening. There was an application process. I got to meet James. I got to meet JJ and a lot of other fantastic people at Root, and it's been, dream come true ever since.
Man, I love that. I love that was the story of following them, utilizing them, and then the door opens, right? And sometimes you
Yeah.
don't know when that door opens. So, okay, so what has the experience been like for you? You know, how has it been? Has it has it lived up to your expectations?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for somebody to pinch me at some point, and I wish I was the first person to say that. From day one, everybody has been nothing but incredibly supportive and welcoming, and just willing to give you their time, uh, basically a moment's notice a lot of the time.
Agreed.
And what's been fantastic is to see, I was somewhere in the early 30s as far as team members were concerned. We just passed our
Yeah.
50th team member milestone. I think we're now up to like 53 or 54, but we're not losing that essence of, I still want to meet everybody. I still want to be available. I know what it was like to be there on day one. And, we have a lot of systems. There's a lot to learn. It's very high paced, but at the same time, you're energized to tackle it, and you don't lose any of that because you have so many of these other people that you feel like are on the same team as you. In a lot of traditional advisory firms, you could say it, that have a more internally competitive environment, it can be detrimental. You can get a lot of, you can be sort of alienated by the people that you're working with. And this is not like that at all. This is, we are all Team Root. And that is an incredibly special thing to be a part of.
So what do you notice differently about our work environment, our offering even compared to what you experienced in the past with your old firms?
We have we have a very intentional approach that I think everybody subscribes to. I
Yeah.
don't see a lot of, every advisor makes their approach to the Sequoia system their own in some way,
Yeah.
but the fundamentals and the foundation are all very strong and very similar across the firm. And you're not joining Root if you disagree with that. You're not joining Root to come you know, and reinvent that process because it works really well. And we have fantastic things going on behind the scenes. Our client service associates and operations associates and team, and
Yeah.
shout out to Alex, our compliance officer, who's brought us a
Yeah.
long way,
Yep.
just since I started, on making sure that those things happen smoothly and that clients feel like they're getting a fantastic experience on their end, on the way that they experience it. Because however much effort we might put into the offering, as you call
Yeah.
it, if a client's not experiencing that in a way that feels really good for them and that they resonate with, and that they feel like, they're getting communication on a regular cadence, and they know what's supposed to happen next and when, then, we're not doing our jobs. So that part of it is very intentional. And I think that it's very hard for a lot of advisory firms might say that certain things happen a certain way, or certainly a lot of companies say that they put an emphasis on work-life balance, or wellness, or all these other
Yeah.
things. But there is execution at Root, and it is, James is fantastic about setting that example, even if we,
Yeah.
pick on his gym lifts and whether or not he
That's
squats or
right,
not.
man.
Uh, we
Yeah.
we all banded together to
We
you
did.
know add to that part of what I think is a cornerstone of our philosophy as a company. So I think it's rare that you can see that in,
Yeah.
certainly at a firm of our size, and bigger or smaller.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever told you, but like one of the being the client success manager and taking the first calls, one of the questions I get, it's there's almost like they kind of coincide two questions. One is, "Hey Jay, I love listening to Ari and James videos. They put me at ease. They're so genuine. I love how transparent they are. How can you know, guarantee me or, reassure me that I'm going to get that feeling with our advisors, right?" And the other
Mm.
question that kind of coincides with it is, you know, does the Sequoia process change from advisor to advisor? So that's where it's fun because I actually get to talk about like our process on how we hire advisors and when they come on board, their onboarding process, even going through you and whatnot. So can you coming from the horse's mouth, right? You're an advisor, you're going through this process, you were hired. How does that work, right? Because like you said, right, they have to be on board with the philosophy. And how do we assure our clients that all of our advisors are trained on that, right? And know that and are going to give them that reassuring feeling?
Yeah, I would say, outside of numbers, if we just take a step back from the actual dollars and cents
Yeah.
during the process, during the interview process, there's a lot of questions that are just about your philosophy and attitude toward money. And I think that is a really strong place to build, because if that is in line with what we exude as a firm, then I think when you jump into Root U and you're going through the very detailed information about how to run certain meetings, and what clients should expect and what they should come into the meeting with and what they should leave with and why we do certain things. Uh, and then you shadow other advisors and you jump on their client calls. We've had a number of advisors that have come on in the last short few months that have sat in on calls, and just seeing that in action is an instrumental learning experience for
Yeah.
feeling like not just here's how certain people are doing it, here's kind of the scope of how things happen in these meetings,
Yeah.
but here's the things that work really well, and here's how I'm going to make them my own.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that you're going to get, certainly to your point about when you're in that first call, which I love watching your explore calls, by the way. They're great. And I love feeling like I can get the inside scoop, or just that first, it's almost like a warm welcome to me with that client, even if they haven't met me yet.
Yeah.
That sets up that first conversation in a way that's super beneficial for everybody. But there's all those processes happening behind the scenes. So before an advisor gets in front of a client for the first time, they have an entire arsenal of team members and trainings
Yeah.
and processes behind them, to where they're going to be set up for success. And
Yeah.
more importantly, the client is going to be set up to have a successful experience with that advisor.
Okay. And then thank you for bringing that up. That's important, I think, for everyone to understand, because there is such a thorough process that our advisors go to. I tell people, I'm like, yeah, our advisors, our CSAs, our associate, all of them, they are our secret sauce. And they have to quarterback all this strategy. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes. We have high touch services, right? We're not just focusing on investments. And the rigorous process to get hired here is incredible. I mean, we have a head of hiring, right? We have all these processes in place. We have the Root U. So, um, yeah, I love that we are that thorough. I want to know about, like, your style. Like, how do you approach planning with clients? Do you
That's a great
have,
question.
yeah,
So, I really like to really understand where a client is coming from. I think that
yeah,
informs a lot about, what I tell clients is, especially in the kickoff call, my greatest weapon, so to speak, in the planning process is understanding where your head's at and where you feel like your personal guardrails are right now, where you
yeah,
feel like the boundaries are. And then when I go to present that plan, that first plan that you see in the income call, we're going through, okay, maybe here's where things are today, here's where things are right now. But based on the things that you told me, I'm going to maybe push your boundaries some. I'm going to
yeah,
push, maybe, if you were looking at this much in spending, but you had failed to take into account a couple of expenses that were tied to certain things, and maybe you can spend significantly more, but that wasn't a place you were comfortable going yet. So when they walk away from that, they feel, one, maybe surprised that there was such a great possibility that they were potentially going to leave untapped,
yeah,
but also that they're really confident that, well, because of all the different tests and retirement analyses that we do for what is going to work for them, they're going to walk away being really confident that we can go through and execute this plan
yeah,
and be okay, and
yeah.
come out the other side of retirement happy, healthy, hopefully healthy, and uh, confident that we're not going to run out of money.
Beautiful. Okay. Now, I want to ask you a matchmaking question. Okay. So that's part of my role here is to matchmake our prospective clients with incredible advisors like you. So I get asked that question. Well, how do you do it, Jay? How do you matchmake? And so we're always looking for personality fits. So I kind of wanted to ask you, how does that you know, what would you say personality fit wise, client wise, like that you like to work with?
Yeah, I think this can be a tough question to answer sometimes because you don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. But the certain types of clients that I really enjoyed working with are
Yeah, that you
always,
mesh with almost, right?
yeah, like we just had a call earlier today that was with this couple that was both career professionals at the top of their fields. They have saved and earned for a long period of time, and they're coming up on this sort of burnout phase, in their late 40s, early 50s, and they really are looking for, okay, a lot of these things are about to happen. Kids going through college, maybe downsizing of careers, but we have other goals we want to meet. And from an execution standpoint, that can feel really overwhelming to tackle. There's going to be a lot of moving parts there. But I love that. I love being able to go into those conversations and then leave those conversations with answers to a lot of how those things are supposed to happen and what order of operations, and know that they can still have a plan that they're confident in. As far as the, you know, I hate to say, working with nice clients. When clients understand Root's philosophy, it's a great place to start.
Yeah.
But even if they're just curious, even if they're not really sure about advisors in general, I welcome that level of curiosity,
Yeah.
just because I'm eager to share what else is possible by working with us. It can be daunting to turn on that retirement income. It can be daunting to, your life savings, and make that distinction with, uh, not make the distinction, but place the trust in somebody to deliver on that retirement income for you for a long period of time. But those are people that are coming from good places and want to know that they're going to be okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm thinking of a question. How can I phrase this? I would say, okay, Ben, how would you describe yourself as an advisor? Like what would be a quick description of like for an incoming client, how, what's the best way to describe you as an advisor to give them almost a heads up on what they're about to experience with the magic of Ben?
That's a great question. I don't know that I've thought about that question a lot, but if I had to answer it on the spot, the my advisory approach, I'm the kind of person that has a lot of really broad interests. You could call me outside of financial planning, a jack of all trades. I think listening to lectures or people that study, particle physics and that kind of thing are really interesting, but not because I want to know all the math behind particle physics, but because I want to know like what the impact in my day-to-day life is going to be. And I try to take that approach to the advisory side too.
Yeah.
Clients might be really interested in, all this different Roth conversion strategy or what taxes are going to be, but we're trying to plan for a life first approach and guide with that philosophy of, the best financial plan is a life well lived.
Yeah.
So that is, however technical things can get, is not necessarily where my level of interest is, but guiding clients back to that, why we lead with income and why we lead with what you want to spend as our North Star before we tackle all the rest of the other components. Because without that, we're going to be making compromises on that for the sake of something else that's not as important to you.
Yeah. Love that, man. I love that. Okay. So you touched on it. I want to get to know Ben outside of Root, outside of work. I know you have a beautiful wife, Lexie, right? You have a couple cats. Give me the rundown. What are we doing in our off time? You live in a cool city.
Yeah, I wish I should experience more things in my city. I think that's more common than
Of
I'm
course,
giving
of course.
myself credit for. Yeah, I was a big car guy for a long time. I haven't been maybe as much recently, but I if you're a Doug DeMuro fan on YouTube, that's my guy. He makes all the videos about every car that you can't get access to, takes you through every little detail, and tells you about all the little quirks and features. So that's a big thing. My brothers and I used to play this game when we were younger, driving around in the car, like just naming cars. I could probably name you, like, based on the headlights in my rearview mirror at night, what a car is a lot of the time. So that's, I, as far as discretionary spend, when I ask clients, like, what's a big thing that you would love to spend money on?
Yes.
That's one for me. Not because I want a car to resemble any specific thing, but because I really enjoy the inner workings and the machinery and the engineering that go into building them. And then, my wife and I like to go do a lot of the things that I think clients tell us that they want more time for. We love to travel. We have a trip planned to Italy later this year. We're very excited for. We just got back from Costa Rica, where we were celebrating a wedding
Nice.
of some friends. And we have season tickets to the local Kentucky theater that puts on productions of various, musicals, Broadway style shows, that kind of thing. And we our first love as a couple was music festivals. So there's a great one in Louisville called Bourbon and Beyond that is a little bit of a different twist on the music festival. It has a very big focus on a lot of people come and they're launching brands and that kind of thing. Obviously, a really big center of the universe, I guess, as far as bourbon is concerned. And they put on music, but then they have these other side stages where people are coming to present their new wares, so to speak.
Really?
So we love to get into lots of different stuff, but it's pouring rain outside right now, thunderstorm. On those kinds of days, we'd love to stay in and watch a great movie or show and snuggle up to the cats.
Okay, so I love this. Okay, so first off, on the car stuff, would you consider yourself a gearhead? Like, can you actually work on cars, or is it just like you love the idea of them, you love the aesthetics of them, how they work, and like you would be a car collector?
I at one time could work on cars a little bit, but
Yes.
more like the more basic stuff. And I can usually diagnose what's wrong with a car because I know what kind of stuff can go wrong and when it might go wrong. But I typically don't, as far as where I'm going to allocate my time, I don't get a lot of joy out of getting my hands dirty and figuring out how to replace engine mounts. I'd rather pay up for that personally. And I have, because, when my wife's engine mounts go off and that needs to be replaced, I'd much rather put that in the hands of a professional. But I do like, I like all the other stuff too. And, as cars advance, they've gotten certainly much more complicated, and
Of course, they're giant
the
computers.
amount of time to put in to have to learn, specifically with some of the higher engineered brands is probably not, the juice is probably not worth the squeeze.
Okay, so you've probably been asked this. If money wasn't an issue and you could pick just one car, one dream car, any vintage, do you have that picked out?
Yes. It's a tough one. It's kind of a cheating answer. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the Rimac Nevera. That's I don't even know if that's their latest model. It's an electric sports car. It is probably the fastest car in the world in like a 0 to 60 and then, or 0 to 100, like all the acceleration tests.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Richard Hammond very famously crashed one in the Grand Tour. If anybody's a fan of that, he drove it off of the hillside in
No way.
in Switzerland. Yeah, it was really bad. It was a very, very bad crash. That guy gets in accidents all the time. It's bad. Don't let him. I mean, he made a career driving on TV, but he crashed a lot.
Okay.
So that's probably it. That car's kind of unobtainium. I don't think there's very many of them out there, and its closest like allegory that might one day sort of be reasonable are all the Koenigsegg brands. Swedish car company that makes hypercar crazy stuff. They're very similar in their approaches, and I think they might even be a minority owner in
really. Okay.
So they certainly buy parts from them.
What would be the price tag on a car like that if the few that are available?
4 million, 5 million, 6 million. I haven't checked in a long time. It's not really worth. It's not really worth
Like,
checking.
hey, we're gonna put that on your
But
vision board. It's part of your
yeah,
North Star. Okay.
yeah, they're crazy though.
All right. And then okay, I'm a music guy. I love music. Um, I'm not a big festival person in the sense of like as I've got older, like being with that many people is tough for me. But
Hmm.
I love concerts, and out here in LA we have just cool venues, right? We got the Hollywood Bowl, we got the Greek. We have so many indoor and outdoor venues here. And it's funny, like this is the time, like summer. Oh man, summer concerts to me are incredible. So do
Hmm.
you and Lexi, like, do you guys go to a frequent amount of shows?
Well, in Louisville, it's tough. We don't get
Okay.
a lot of the artists always coming through, which is unfortunate. Like, I think one that played like Beyonce played Cardinal Stadium
Yep.
a little while back, and that was a big deal because that hadn't happened in a really long time. The Yum Center, the basketball arena where Louisville Cardinals play, that gets a decent amount of traffic. But a lot of the times we're traveling to Indianapolis or Cincinnati or Nashville
Okay.
to see a show. But it's also a great reason to visit friends that live in those places. So we're happy to do it for the most part.
Do you have a specific genre? Or are you eclectic? Are you all over
we're
the
we're
board?
pretty we're pretty all over the place.
Okay.
What I've tried to do recently is find like cheaper shows that
Yeah.
maybe artist hasn't blown up
Yes.
just yet, and you can get in for a decent price. That's kind of subjective, I guess, but yeah, we like to be a little bit all over the place. And that's part of the reason we like the festivals. We're a little bit more back of the crowd festivals
Yeah.
this stage in our lives, but this it sounds just as good from back there. And they got big video screens now.
I
You don't
know.
really need to get in the mix.
The tough thing with LA is we're on the opposite end of the spectrum where we get everybody can you can see
Hmm.
all levels of bands, right? But and we have so many spots, but the tickets are so expensive because we have 10 million
Yeah,
people in LA that are
yeah.
gonna buy tickets, right? So that's the tough
Hmm.
part. Okay. So give me what's a guilty pleasure maybe that you're not ashamed of or a habit.
Depending on who you ask, you may or may not be ashamed of it. I mean, I'm a big video game guy.
Okay.
I
Video game
that
guy.
like I that can't be frowned upon. That's maybe too easy of a cop out answer. Maybe that's more socially accepted now. But
Yeah.
yeah,
For
growing
sure.
up, like video games and cartoons. I I I could speak English from a really young age, but my English got better certainly when I started, watching a lot of TV and playing a lot of video games. For it was just a really good vehicle for communication from
Really
when I was
interesting.
really little.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't play quite as much as I used to. Although if you ask my wife, she might say different.
Okay. Do you have I'm a big niche passion guy. Do you have any weird niche passions?
Niche passion.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
I I don't know how you would describe this specifically. I mean, I'm gonna get called out on this, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know, I I love I love watching people put things together. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there and various channels and that kind of thing
Yeah.
that would just like assembling a lawnmower
Yes.
or whatever it is. I like the inner workings of things, and sometimes there's I watched they're super long form videos for the most part, but there was one where this guy was mentioning Sweden a lot in this. I'm realizing this is like a number of times I'm going to mention
Heavy on
Sweden,
the
but
Sweden, bro. And
yeah,
heavy on the inner workings. Big inner workings guy, Ben.
yes, huge.
Yes.
I guilty as charged. But there's this guy who built a cabin out in the woods in
Yeah.
Sweden somewhere with no power tools. He just hand cut every tree and hand prepared it and drug it to uh, the location or wherever and put them all together and like showed you how they built stuff back then. I don't know why that was so crazy to me. I don't know if I'd
Incredible.
go so far as to call it a passion,
That's a
but
passion, bro. The inner workings, niche passions.
Yeah.
I agree. I met a guy a buddy of mine in Canada. His brother built his house for his family via YouTube. Like,
Wow.
got architectural plans offline, built everything basically from scratch on YouTube. Used power tools, but like just built a house. And I've walked in the house and I was
Wow.
absolutely floored. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So
Power tools get it done a lot faster than
power tools are
than
nice, dude.
yeah.
Power tools
They're
are nice.
real luxury good.
All right, let's wrap it up with some rapid fire. Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
When do you go to bed?
Usually not before. I've gotten better. It used to be like 1 a.m., 1:30, sometimes 2, and that'll still happen on occasion. But 11:30, 11:45.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. It gets harder when you have kids because you got to get up
Mhm.
earlier, but I'm
Yeah.
with you on that. Okay, podcasts or playlists?
So lately podcasts, but when you say playlists, my own or other people's,
I think podcasts or music, kind of music, just in general. Would you rather
yeah.
listen to music in the car or would you rather listen to a podcast?
If I'm with other people, playlist for sure. By
Okay,
myself, I like the that's a really tough answer to pick. This is not a rapid fire question at all. I
I just
probably
let you.
I belabored the point.
No, it's fine. I even dig into it. Like on podcasts, are you a person like me who's it has to be almost like informational, educational versus like, people like I'm with that with podcasts and reading. It has to like I feel like I have to learn something for me to do
Hmm.
it versus just I'll never read a fictional novel. Like it just not that I have anything
Yeah,
against it, but I'm like, oh, I have to learn something if I'm going to spend the time.
yeah.
So
I'm all over the place on
yeah,
like I have comedy podcasts, like comedy sports podcasts,
yep,
huge on that, and then there are certainly audiobooks, but then also like a lot of investing podcasts just to
yep,
those are as talk about niche passions, financial planning, kind of out there. Uh, so those
okay,
are I feel like there's not enough time to listen to
yeah,
everything, and with music, you can break it up into you're not missing like a story or continuity. You can spread that out, so it's less. You don't get behind on music, so to speak.
okay. Favorite vacation spot?
I love to go down to my wife's family goes down to Grayton Beach, Florida. It's right in the Panhandle. That's our basically tried and true,
Yep.
and it's the one time that really everybody gets together in a big way.
Beautiful. Okay. We always ask our clients, especially in kickoff purpose, North Star, paint your picture of your perfect retirement. What would that look like for you?
That's really tough. I feel like it's constantly evolving, and my wife and I meet regularly about what are we going to plan for the next X amount of time,
Yeah.
and I don't think we go quite that far out. But things that I spend a lot of time looking at, it's probably a good. Gives you a pretty decent idea. I follow a lot of pages dedicated to cheap European property. There's beautiful homes in the hills of Tuscany in Italy that are
Yep.
somehow, relatively speaking, to lots of other places, affordable. Same thing with Spain and other Nordic countries. There's this website called, not to give them free advertising, but Trusted House Sitters.
Yeah.
It essentially is a place you can go, and if you need somebody to come and watch your pet, you let people stay at your house. I would love to not backpack necessarily, but go on various pet sitting spots in places that I maybe wouldn't have considered going
Yeah.
uh, over long periods of time, and stay in these essentially strangers' homes. But
Yeah.
it's a way of meeting people that is very unconventional, I guess, and that'd probably be high on my list.
That's awesome, man. That sounds fun. I want to do that stuff too. I've heard about people like doing house swaps and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's incredible. Ben, I appreciate you, man. You're incredible. You're one of the smartest guys I know. I love your passion. I love your energy. You're one of those people I wish, we could definitely spend more time. That's like the hard part, right? We have such awesome coworkers, but we're a virtual company and we don't get to see each other enough. And like, I got to know you at the retreat and I'm obviously through experiences like this. And, I'm just so like I'm so like grateful I get to work with people just like you, my friend. And thank you for sharing all this with us and spending the time with me. It's really greatly appreciated, my friend.
I appreciate you having me on. I echo your sentiment. It is and will continue to be fantastic to know you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, dude. Till next time.
Till next
See you
time.
guys.
Take care.